Hey everyone, welcome to practice. Today we're focusing on a series of postures that will help us with our digestion. So whether we've eaten too much or we've eaten the wrong thing, this sequence is going to take our trunk through a whole variety of motions, forward bends, back bends, twists, all of the good stuff to get our digestion going in the right direction. And before we get started, just so you know, there's a bunch of places to connect with us online because don't you want to be more connected? We have weekly letters, which I suggest you sign up for because that's where we post all of our new classes. And then we also are on Instagram and Facebook. So when you guys are ready, hop into something cozy and let's get started. Let's get started in a comfortable seated position. So you can join me on the floor if you like. I do recommend though sitting up on something like a blanket or a yoga block or something like that. For me, you can see my blanket. I have it folded up like so, and then I put it on the diagonal so that when my booty goes on top of it, the thighs descend down. And so that's what we're looking for here, is thighs descending down so that the pelvis can sit upright. And now if we can't achieve this on the floor, don't worry. Go ahead and get yourself into a chair and sit with the legs, the feet right down on the floor beneath you. So when we get here, you can kind of move around with your pelvis a little bit. Try to find the sitting bones. You can even pull the flesh away from your thighs to get the sitting bones to ground evenly. And when you feel that you're about even between both sides of the sitting bones, pelvis level in the body, feel that the belly button washes back and up, the side ribs lift up, all the way up into the armpits, the chest opens, the shoulders soften, and the skull pulls right back up over those sweet shoulders. From here, steady your eyes straight ahead. Let them soften so they're not gripping onto anything that you're seeing, and then slowly let them close. Take a big full inhale through your nose all the way down to your pelvis. And an easy exhale out through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Last one. Breathing nice and soft and easy here. And then we can gently let the eyes open. And again, let the vision be soft. Set the eyes right on the horizon. And make it so that the eyes can stay soft and still in the skull, even while the skull moves. So you can kind of turn your head to one side and then back through center to the other. And this is just practice for the eyes, the vision to remain super soft here. Coming back to center, let the eyes remain soft. Lean back a bit if you have your legs crossed and recross your legs the other way. So we'll start to take a little side stretch here. We want to feel plugged into the pelvis so that we have a sense of lifting energy through the spine, and then we take the side bend from that. So wherever we are, draw your legs into your pelvis, level your pelvis in space, ground down through the sitting bones. Feel that your low back presses forward and your belly button hugs into it. So it's like from the back and the front body, it goes in and up. Then on the next big breath in, float your arms all the way on up to the sky. Spend a moment here, draw your belly button back and up, take your front ribs in, reach your arms and your shoulder blades up, 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 up. Take one more full breath in here. And exhale, keep everything compact to the middle as you soften your right fingertips down to the floor by your side and take a little stretch over that side of your pelvis. Take your chest forward of your armpits here, so that'll rearrange the shoulder blades on the back. And this bottom elbow, swing it in so it's bending in towards your side waist. Take another full breath in. Lift your right armpit out of your hip and over the side of your pelvis a little bit more. And then come on up through center and take your other side. What will also help you anatomically rearrange yourself just in a very natural way, in a way where you don't have to remember all these alignment cues and go over the checklist, which sometimes makes us feel better and more empowered and sometimes just makes us more confused, is to do the following. As you breathe here, fill your entire body with your attention so that every bit of you gets the same amount of attention, like it's light filling a room. And you'll begin to see that parts of you that you were paying too much attention to have to kind of soften or rearrange what they're doing. And the same thing with the parts of you that were not so involved in your attention. Come on up out of this. Let's take the legs together. Let's stretch the legs on out in front of you. And so if you're on a chair, come on down to the floor, but again, get upright on something. So we want the pelvis to be upright in the body. We don't want to feel like we're being tugged back. If we're being tugged back, then I would honestly recommend just going all the way down to your back and basically following the verbal cues from there. So with your legs straight out in front of you, root down through the heels. Take your calf to the heels forward so it's getting the lower leg bone nice and long. Take your thigh muscles down to the bone so it's grounding them down. Then take the flesh of your front pelvis in and up so you get nice and long here. Open your chest, take your skull right over your shoulders. Go ahead and take your hands underneath your right knee, bend into it, and bring the sole of your feet close to your left leg. And if you're lying back on the floor, you'll just hug your right knee into the chest so the foot will be lifted. So this is a version of wind relieving pose here. Keep your left leg grounded. As you squeeze your right knee in, take your side waist evenly up to the armpits and open the chest. Use your feet evenly so that feet are pressing forward or down, as the case may be. And then stay here, or decide if you want to take that right foot and cross it over to the other side of your leg. And if when you do that, your right hip pops up, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for even neutrality in the pelvis and the spine. So you pick the variation that works for you. You can always just go back to where we just were. Take a nice full inhale, extend and grow through your spine. And on your exhale, keep your pelvis exactly where it is, lower abdomen where it is, but start to twist the heart over to the right. Your right fingers sprinkle behind you, and your left hand, I just like to use it to grip here on the knee. You can also use the elbow on top of the knee if that makes more sense. Breathe vertical length into your whole spine here. A nice good twist and rinse through all of the organs in the abdominal cavity. Another full breath in. And exhale, unwind to center. Stretch your right leg out in front of you so we're in that nice Dandasana shape with the legs. And then take your hands underneath your left knee, guide it into a bend, step the foot close by your pelvis and hug onto your leg. So use your legs evenly, get your pelvis even between them, your torso even between the two sides of the hips. You can measure that just with your side waist. If you can start to sense and get really sensitive about how long your side waist is, you can start to see when your pelvis gets a little torquey. If you like, you can keep your left foot here. You can step it to the outside of the right leg. Do the same thing. We gather all of the attention. Take a nice full breath in, ground down through your sitting bones and vertical lengthen through the spine. And then on your exhale, begin to twist over to the left. Sprinkle those left fingers down. Notice if the pelvis kind of wants to turn with you. That's going to be the natural movement there. Use your leg muscles and your thigh bones to pull into the pelvis and hold it in neutral. So what we're really getting the twist here is through the organ cavity. Beautiful. When you're ready, come on back through center. Release that left leg out in front of you. And then roll over both legs for tabletop position. You can move your props out of the way. Hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. First, find a neutral spine here. Belly button lifting, chest reaching out, skull in line with the spine. And take a few full deep breaths here into the three-dimensional nature of the trunk. Next inhale breath, lift your tailbone, your heart, your head skyward, and exhale, take the opposite shape, rounding the pelvis in, the heart lifting to the spine, the chin draws in. And again, inhale, soften through centers, you take that back bend shape, and exhale, curl in. This is another great time, we'll keep moving like this. This is another great time to experiment with the softness and the vision and the eyes. That'll keep the mind really fresh and clear. And as far as our experience goes, letting our attention flood our entire body. Come back to neutral spine here. Tuck the toes under, push out with your fingers more than your wrists, and then hover the knees off the floor just a baby inch. Be really soft in your vision, your jaw, as you press up and back with the hips to find downward facing dog pose. If this pose isn't so good for you, you can always modify back down to tabletop position. Bend your knees, step your feet wider, make the pose your own. Really use your inner thighs to draw your thighs back in space. So you got a lot that'll move the pelvis up and back so that it becomes more like a piggy bank that's dumping the spine out of it. Keep the pelvis really high as you begin to walk your feet forward a little bit at a time until you're at the top of your yoga mat in a standing forward bend. And for my friends who are tighter in the backs of your legs, fear not, you can always bend your knees here. You can always step your feet wider apart. You could lift your hands up onto some furniture or up to a wall in front of you. Ground down through your heels. As you do that, pick the ball mount of your feet up one at a time and stretch it forward. So get your heel down and back, your ball mount forward, and this will help position the bones of the legs and the muscles on the bones in the right way so that the shins go forward, the calves move forward. Your next breath in, wave out of your pelvis halfway. Take a few extra breaths here. We're all going to be unique in what height and space we are. Then on your exhale breath, fold over your legs again. Ground down through your strong feet. Inhale, come all the way up to stand, your own time, your favorite way. And exhale, hands drop down in front of the chest. Take a few rounds of sun salutation here to move the trunk in all directions and really stimulate all of the movement of the organs. So when you're ready, next inhale breath, breathe in and reach the arms. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, take your hands down to the floor, step your feet back one at a time for downward facing dog pose. Next in breath, come forward high plank. On your out breath, however you like to come down to the floor, you can always take your knees down first. Soften down here, soften your tops of your feet down. Stretch your arms back by your side with your pinkies facing the sky. And look down at the floor so the back of your neck gets really long. One at a time, turn your legs in to face each other. Rotate them deep in the pelvic socket. And then take your tailbone towards your heels. So your buttocks are flowing towards your hamstrings. That's going to be a really key critical part. We want the buttocks and the hamstrings to initiate this next movement. So when you're ready, keep your buttocks going towards your hamstrings as you lift the feet and the shins off the floor. Maybe the tailbone kind of lifts there, like the glutes stop working so precisely. So get that precision back and then start to lift the chest. Not just up to the sky, but more forward, like you're inching out of your pelvis, like you're getting longer through your ribs and your spine. Reach your pinkies up to the sky and back towards the feet, but keep your ribs stretching forward. Keep your spine going forward. Beautiful. Take your legs down, stretch out through your toes, ground your pinky toe. Slide your hands underneath your elbows, and then on your next inhale breath, press down and come on up towards straight arms. They don't have to go straight. Keep your chest forward of your armpits here, skull pulling up and back. Take another big breath in, and then exhale, pull up at your belly muscles to take the pelvis high and back, downward facing dog. Take your next inhale breath to look forward. And on your exhale breath, you can step the feet or you can hop the feet all the way to the very top of the yoga mat, forward fold. Inhale, wave out of your pelvis to that halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Ground your feet, inhale, wave the arms out and up to the sky, reach up. And exhale, hands down in front of the chest. Inhale, reach the arms. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step the feet back one at a time, downward facing dog. Take a moment. Next in breath, come forward, high plank pose, top of a push-up. And you decide how you want to come all the way down to the floor. This time, soften your forearms down to the floor. Take your elbows right underneath your shoulders, parallel the forearms. Rock your pelvis a little bit side to side here so you can start to feel even, symmetrical, and integrated. Now take your shoulder blades toward each other on the back. Move your chest forward. Get your head and neck in line with your spine. So your spine like a chain link necklace. You can feel how moving your skull kind of reverberates all the way down to the connection points in the tailbone. We'll go in and out of Slinky Sphinx here, so really stimulating the belly muscles. Take a big breath in. Exhale, squeeze your belly muscles. Round in, so your chin goes in, your pelvis lifts off the floor, tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Inhale, set your pelvis down, stretch forward to Sphinx. And exhale, curl in. Inhale, set your pelvis down, stretch forward. And exhale, curl in. Inhale, set your pelvis down, stretch forward. And exhale, curl in. Good job. Come back down and relax here. Soften your hands one on top of the other. Mount your forehead on your hands, bend your knees, and wave your toes left and right like you're painting the ceiling. Breathe. breathe into your belly muscles so you get massaged from the ground beneath you. And even as you're waving here, keep the tailbone going to the backs of the knees. So when it's flowing that direction, the front of the pelvis is getting really long and really integrated, and then it's reaping the benefits of the massage on the floor. Okay, lengthen your legs on out. We're gonna twist it out again here. So go back to your Sphinx where you're propped up. And this one is a little bit precise. If you haven't done the pose before, you can watch. Just because the verbal cues, if you haven't done it before, sometimes are confusing on their own. But we're gonna go to a twist here. You're gonna leave your right hand where it is, pick your left arm up and thread it between your right elbow and armpit. Then you'll lean onto that side. So you'll lay down with your skull. You'll start to reach your right fingertips up to the sky and over the mat so that you're essentially trying to turn your whole upper body over onto the back. And what's not going with you, what's trailing behind is the pelvis, and that's what brings you into the twist. And now if there's a lot of space between your shoulder and the floor here, that can be really common. If you have that blanket or that block that you were using earlier, you can put it underneath your shoulder just to give yourself something to press into. Breathe vertical length through your whole torso, your whole trunk. As you blink softly here, let your vision soften straight on the horizon. If there's any movement happening in your field of vision, it's so fun. You know, it's natural to want to grab onto it. But see if you can let all of the movement happen without being pulled towards it. To come out of the twist, lead with your right arm up to the sky and then over and back down into your belly, where you come back down onto your forearms. And then from here, you'll take your right arm, you'll thread it between your left elbow and armpit. You'll take that opportunity to come lay on your right shoulder, your head, reach your left arm up to the sky and over across the other side of your yoga mat, so that your chest is experiencing just a casual lay on the floor, lay on the beach. When you're ready, let's complete this action of rolling onto our backs. So come on down, and then if you're not centered on your yoga mat, scooch over so that you are. We'll take wind relieving pose on our backs. So you can keep the soles of your feet step close to your body. Let's hug the right knee into the chest. If it feels okay from here, you can lengthen that left leg on straight. Notice if it kind of pulls your pelvis down with it. Recenter your pelvis between your legs, between your armpits, and then draw your right knee closer in towards your belly. Keep your right knee where it is. Softly draw the left knee into the belly, and then soften your right foot down to the floor. Hug the left knee in. Center the pelvis between your two legs and your two armpits. If it makes sense to stretch the right leg out, do that, and then recenter the pelvis. Keep your left knee drawing in, draw your right knee in with it, roll around a little bit here on your back, massaging your torso and your organ cavity from the back side now. If you want, you can let this move into happy baby. Draw your knees in towards your armpits, hug onto your shins or underneath your thighs, or if you can grab onto your feet, take that. Draw your knees down, push your feet up. Lengthen the spine, so lengthen your frontal hip bones if you can discern where those are right now. Lengthen them down away from your armpits, and that should open the inner groin and thigh a little bit more. It's just positioning the pelvis in the place it likes to be the most. And if from here it feels okay to go to Supta Baddha Konasana, soften the soles of the feet down to the floor in front of the pelvis. Soles of the feet together, knees butterfly open. If this doesn't feel so good on your low back, try lifting your pelvis, scooping your tailbone towards your ankles. And if it still doesn't feel good, then either prop your legs up on some cushions, like couch cushions, or just take your legs straight or in another position. That's fine as well. Now from here, with your vision super soft, let your eyes gently close. If this is a really intense posture and you want to release it into something that feels unmistakably comfortable. And then that's where we'll rest for the next few minutes of our practice. So this pose, Shavasana, our final resting posture, it's an interesting pose because the idea is that we want to let the body and the mind rest as if it were in deep sleep, but our attention is still in the waking state. So what can kind of help facilitate this experience for us is a little bit of controlled deep breathing. If you're willing, take the next full breath in through your nose all the way down to your hips and let it draw out and complete on its own. Once you've made it to the tippy top of the breath, let it hold there and hover for that little moment. And then separate your lips, soften your tongue, and let the exhale trail out through the mouth. Let it pause naturally at the end. And then breathe in again. Take a little pause before you breathe out. Last one. At the end of this one, see if you can't let your breath return to a very natural state, the same way that your body would breathe in deep sleep. So you're taking the voluntary component out of the breath. Just as we were practicing earlier, send your attention into every single part of your body. Fill yourself up with attention. Our attention is always looking for something fun to latch onto, something shiny and unique. And that can take the form of pain, like a shooting sharp pain. Your attention will naturally contract into it. Or it can be something more exciting, something like the feeling of love in the body, or excitement, or accomplishment. And so if you have any of those kind of, on the spectrum of emotions, kind of dramatic emotions, notice that your attention naturally wants to collapse in on it, and then keep it broad. We're just practicing keeping our attention broad, because this is where we're the most capable. This is where we're able to see situations with the most clarity, where we're not getting wrapped up in the highs and lows. And that's really a skill that we'll want to employ mostly off the mat, where the obstacles are really high risk sometimes, relationships, activities, skills, jobs, all of that stuff. And hopefully our yoga practice is a micro experience that lessons become applicable off the yoga mat in all those other areas of our lives. And so the challenging bit here then, as we come out of Shavasana, is that there's going to be a lot of things for our attention to condense in on. There's going to be movement in the body, there's going to be bodily sensations, and that'll trigger thoughts, and that'll trigger this whole cascade of experience, amazing, beautiful, wonderful experience. And so the invitation is to keep your attention broad and expanded throughout. Start to breathe more voluntarily on your own, fuller, deeper breaths. And let little tiny movements start to happen in your fingers, maybe in your toes, or wherever it really makes sense. Keep that movement going. And as that movement gets bigger, maybe you're rolling out now through your wrists or through your ankles. Keep your attention spreading, as if your attention could spread even beyond the skin. As if you could incorporate all of the air molecules around your body as part of your body. Stretch your arms overhead. Stretch your legs out. Using one of your arms as support, we'll actually roll over onto the left side. That will support the digestive channels, and actually where the stomach empties into the intestines is on the left side. So this is why after we eat a big meal, sometimes it can be nice to lie on the left side, or if you're going to sleep at night, falling asleep on the left side can also be effective. Ground down through your right hand. Press on up to a comfortable seated position. And let your hands rest wherever it's most comfortable, on your lap, on your body somewhere, or at your heart. Let's let our eyes open, let the vision soften on the horizon, and all of the movement of home, whether there's animals or other people around or just things happening outside of the window, let all of that movement happen while our vision stays broad. And you can kind of see how there's a parallel between that practice and the practice of keeping our attention broad. And we'll see how this impacts us in our lives, in our ability to stay even and functional in the face of obstacles, to stay level-headed in the face of excitement. Thank you so much for joining in practice today. I hope that all of your digestion goes super well for the rest of the day. Have a great day.